record. Jim Yurillo.
Good morning.
We're live. So, why in the world would you run for county commission?
Wow.
Are you out of your mind?
That's exactly what I've heard from so many people. I can't take it anymore. I'm born and raised in Martin County. I went to school here, raised my kids here. I've watched this county grow, and over the last 6 to 8 years, explode. It's just been out of control. And we forgot to keep up with our infrastructure. We forgot to keep widening roads. We forgot to count for the number of people that are moving into the county. Martin County was always this laid back, kind of the joke of South Florida. They always used to refer to us as the sticks up here because we kept ourselves with the lower density, larger lots. Made it more of the gem, as I like to call it, the gem of the Treasure Coast. It was where everybody wanted to come, and people did move, and they moved here, but they moved here at a pace that was acceptable and that we could keep up with. Today, I invite you to get on US 1 on Indian Street and drive to Jensen Beach Boulevard. Enjoy the half-hour drive.
But what's your problem, right? Like, it's the future. You know, everywhere has to be like West Palm and Jacksonville or all these big places. Why not Stewart? Why not Jensen Beach? Why not Palm City?
You can have growth, but you don't have to overdevelop. And an example I like to give is I watched when they put Sawgrass Expressway in Broward. At that time, Bout University was the end of the urban sprawl. As soon as the Sawgrass went in, it's all the way out west now. And Martin County is creeping that way, slower and slower. But we're putting thousands of homes in, and we're not facilitating the movement of these people. And we just don't have the infrastructure in place for that.
I agree. So what would you generally be doing different than Doug? You're running against Doug Smith, the Jensen Beach crew. What's going to be different under Jim Yurillo's tenure?
I don't want to say I'm a no growth. I believe the term managed growth is better. When a development comes forward and they want to ask for a land use change, I want to see how that benefits the county. You're asking us for something. I want to see something in return from you. How are you benefiting and making Martin County or the community you're going into better? I also want to see people remember the heritage of the communities they're building in. We are changing the complexion of our communities with these new developments instead of trying to match the development to the heritage and the lifestyle of the people that have been there and those that have spent money in the last 10 years and have moved into this area because this is what they wanted.
I think that's a great point. Is often, almost always, right? We're talking about what the developer, their rights and what they want and, you know, what's in their best interest. And you never hear, I've never heard from the dais, the concerns, quality of life, the financial impact, the, you know, whatever, with regard to the people who are already stakeholders here. You know, there's all this consideration for future stakeholders. What about the existing people who have invested here, bought a home here, started a business here, have roots, you know?
I believe when it comes to property owner rights, if you bought a property or parcel and it's zoned XYZ and you put a development forward that meets all the requirements of XYZ and you're not asking for anything changed, legitimately, we can't say no to that. You did your due diligence and you bought and you're building within that. But when you ask for a change, now you're impacting everybody in the community because they purchase, invested, knowing that this is how it's zoned today and this is what the future should be. And now we're changing that. We're impacting. So I believe their rights should trump the new developer owners. It's on you as a developer to do your due diligence and buy parcels that meet the requirements for your projects.
But it's a strange thing, right? It's kind of an unspoken, undocumented, nebulous criteria of what really is the character of Martin County, of Stewart, of, you know, it seems like when that development comes forward, all energy and all thought is on, you know,
right.
Does the stormwater work? Does the parking and traffic work? You know, it's never the collective, holistic, you know, downtown Jensen overall consideration. It's just parcel by parcel, project by project.
part of that falls back on the people. And I think we've seen the change here with the Quit Messing with Jensen group and the Save Salerno group. And they've come out as in mass now and say, wait a minute, this is our community. This is not what we want in our community. And this is what we bought into when we moved here. And in my case, I was born here. This is what I grew up with. This is not what we want. And we're seeing more and more of those people speaking up. Mm-hmm. And it works. And I'll throw back to Pinecrest Lakes, a project in 1995 that was built on the northeast side of Pinecrest Lakes Boulevard. They put in apartment complexes. Martin County made a zoning change and allowed it. Homeowners sued. Eventually it went to court. The homeowners won. 4 years later, Judge Shattuck ordered the buildings torn down. It cost Martin County, I think, $3 million, as well as the developer lost millions. But this is a time where the homeowners stood up, dug in, and said, enough is enough, and we're not going to go for it. This is not right. Was not legal what you did. And we stood up, and it was nice to see a judge actually say, I agree, take the buildings down.
Mm-hmm. What I was poking at, to give you some ammunition, actually, is it seems like more recently, as far as I can tell, there's this culture in municipal government of these tradition-like projects, these PUDs that are, basically you have dirt, but it can be completely terraformed into something that is a one-off, that's a unique, sort of ecosystem versus historic zoning, right? So historically, it's commercial, it's multifamily, it's single-family home, right? Normal zoning, you end up with all these little micro community city things, and at the end of the day, it's way too dense. There's not enough parking, and it doesn't, look collectively at the entire area. So instead of making it a little bit less nebulous, moving back towards, obviously straight zoning is straight zoning. If you can build it by right, you build it. But even within the variance, the land use change world, where the commissions are now leveraged, is it going to be something close to, in terms of density, height, parking, traffic considerations, is it close to that? Or if we're going to change that land use and zoning, like you said, it needs to be a benefit and make sense. And if it is, still don't make it overly dense. Make sure you can park it, keep it reasonable, so trying to take it out of nebulous and more defined. Otherwise, I think there's the opportunity for that development class to point at you and say, you're just no growth. You're just negative. You're an anti-development agitator. That's one of those lines that I've heard thrown around. So, we need more well-defined parameters for what gets approved and what doesn't get approved in light of the character and
character of the community is really important. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook page my logo. One of the things is heritage. I believe that we need to maintain the heritage of our communities. If a developer wants to build in Salerno, they need to look at what's there. Port Salerno's there, and design your development to augment what's already in place there and complement that community. Same thing with Jensen. Same thing, out west. It's all.
So how would you define the character of Jensen then?
Jensen's a town all about the water. It's our water industry, our sports fishing, our fishing, the rivers, boating. That's what Jensen is. The joke, and people joke around. Jensen's a small drinking town that has a fishing problem.
I mean, it sounds like Martin County.
But it's and that's we need to look at developments. Right now, there's Riverlight, which we all know is out there, and it's a big motivator for me being involved at running for it right now.
What do you not
parking is an issue with Riverlight. It's just the allocation for parking is way too small for what they're thinking. They think according to the developer, everybody's going to walk. They're not going to need cars.
It's the craziest thing, man.
I don't see a hospital. I don't see doctor's offices. I don't see a pharmacy within the development. They're going to need a car to go to these services. And people, if it's raining and it's Florida or it looks like it's going to rain, well, they're going to hop in the car and run to the grocery store. They're not going to walk 5 blocks, 6 blocks to the grocery store.
It's a good pitch, right? If you're a developer and you want to build more, you'll just call it walkable, call it a community. You know, say that the guy will live in that townhouse and he'll work over there in that commercial unit that I'm going to build. But that's not how humans actually interact in real life. You know, he or she may live there and end up working in West Palm or Palm City. You know, you can't just completely underpark it.
Right.
Under the nice sugary sweet pitch that this is a community now.
You
This
know,
is
the
walkable.
engineer that works for Pratt Whitney is not going to give up his
No.
100,000 plus year
No.
job to live in a community like that and not have a car. He's going to go to work every day.
Right, people have cars.
Right.
Sorry.
And if there's 2 people in the house, most likely they're going to have 2 cars.
Yeah. So how's that
Well,
1.2 spaces going to work?
You're right. It's, you know, my kids were at home and we're all driving, I had 6 cars in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
That's just America. We love our cars.
The same kind of pitch has been for the city, is that, oh, if we just build more apartments that may or may not have the adequate parking, people will sell their house in Port St. Lucie to come move into that $2,500 to $3,000 a month apartment, right? You would totally give up your equity to be closer to your job downtown, right? Even though it's mostly service jobs, at least in downtown, you know,
Right.
Waiters. I'm a chiropractor. It's not like a real industry here, other than service. And those, you can't pay $3,000 a month in rent. It's strange, you know. It's like this dissociated.
I worked 15
Dream world.
years for Martin Memorial, and
Yeah.
I didn't leave my home in Jensen Beach to move into Stewart
Right.
where I could walk
Yeah.
to the hospital.
Right.
No, it's, you know, I drove to work every day. I drove to work while they were building the Roosevelt Bridge.
Yep.
So it was a disaster. Living here would have been much easier, but no, I drove to work because
Right. You're gonna live where you're gonna live, and it, you know, more recently the cost of houses is insane everywhere, not just here, but
right.
a lot of people would rather have more house and maybe have a little more drive. You know, that's what you see with Port St. Lucie, right? You could have a 3-2 and instead of a 2-1 or something, and have a pool. And
I made that decision when I first got married. My wife and I
Yeah.
thought about it. We thought about moving to Port St. Lucie. We could have bought a lot more house than what we had for the money,
Mhm.
but we elected to stay in Jensen Beach. We wanted to stay close to family. We wanted to be in that school district, so we made that sacrifice.
same.
You know, it's so the idea. It's a pipe dream. These walkable communities and people not bringing their cars. It's a pipe dream that looks real good on paper and real
Right.
good on a presentation at the county commission meeting. But the
Yeah.
reality of it doesn't work that way.
If you're a planner that's been through that whole educational system, and you know, you've been heavily influenced by that whole, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a paradigm or utopian thing where, you know, we're somehow going to make American cities more like historic small European towns with city squares and things, but you can't turn Stewart or Jensen into Savannah, Georgia. You know, you can't. It's nice. It'd be beautiful, but you have all of the infrastructure, everything's set up already. The parks, the green space, you know.
Right.
So all you can do at this point is turn a parcel into a micro community like that, which is a mess, like I said, because you end up having all of these overly dense little micro town things on 4 acres or whatever it is.
4 acres, you're lucky.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, it's a big problem. And the only way it's going to change is the mindset at the county commission.
You're 100% correct. The butts and seats change the tone. So what's your tone, man? What are you going to do different than, you want to rattle off some of the more recent decisions, or where do you feel like you can best articulate how you're different and why people should pick you, man?
I am different because I want to look at a project, and I'm not looking at the developer. I'm looking at the project merits of the project.
They're not
to
your
the
buddy?
community.
You're not hanging out with them?
No.
You're not going to the Bahamas together? and
I'm
hanging
not an
out?
anti-growth person, but I'm not a pro-growth either. I'm a pro-Martin County person.
There you
What's
go.
best for the community. And I'm going to look at the projects and what it brings to the community and how it impacts the community.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to develop, you need to keep the community in mind and think about it. I've always been involved in the community. In high school, I was a volunteer firefighter started. I was all the way up to fire chief and then left, a paramedic in Martin County. 15 years board of directors with Jensen Beach Little League. I've always been a community-minded person. My community is very important to me. I want to salvage what we can still in our community and our heritage.
So who do you know that at the fire union? Because that's always historically been.
I have been out of it for so long. All the guys I know have retired. So it's
because you need to go make friends with whoever's at the fire union.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Or else those boots are going to be out there for Doug.
It's and they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's a task that we have to work on.
It's true. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Because that was a very valid point, Chris. They're a big influencer in the county. And they should be. I mean, our first responders are very important. People should pay attention to what they think is best for themselves. However, when it comes to politics and who's in office, it's also a mixed
How would
bag.
you have handled that increase for that public? I mean, it's usually fire and then the police get involved. So
Right.
we'll say public safety raise. What did they get, 12%?
12%. And I understand the
How would you have
reason
handled
behind it.
that? Not to put you too much in the hot seat.
No,
or in
I
the
was actually
crosshairs.
at the budget hearings, and I
Yep.
was there for the presentation the fire chief presented, and it was a very good presentation. And back in the day when I was with the volunteer fire department, we used to do help with budget prep, so I have some background in it. For years, even when I worked as a paramedic for Martin County, we would lose our people to Palm Beach and
Forever,
Broward.
yeah.
We were the training grounds. It was a joke. Martin County was the training ground for Palm Beach County. And it's because of the salaries. They could walk in the door down there and make more than they're up here at 5 years. And that's what that increase, big part of the increase was all about, was to bring some parity between the two counties.
Right.
Where we're stopping the
But
bleeding.
isn't there a vast difference in the number of calls and from my understanding, there's, I wish I knew the numbers.
If
it's a very different, we want to have close to equal salaries so we're competitive, but at the same time, it's a very different job than if you're down south, right? Or no? This is my
a structure fire is a structure fire.
Yes.
A car accident's a car accident. It can happen in Martin County. It can happen in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
Other than the high rises and specialty things like that.
Right.
It's important. No, I believe that the pay has to be there, because otherwise we're never going to have the guys with the experience.
True.
And that is so important when you have an officer on an engine rolling up and he's sizing up as he's pulling up on what's going on there, to have experience and have seen things before.
Yep.
Because it's his life and the life of the guys he's in charge of and the public's life that he's got to make now decisions on.
Yep.
So you
And
need
from a
experienced
team
people.
standpoint, you want him having qualified,
Right.
solid people around that guy. for
So I
everybody's
supported
safety.
the
Yep.
raises within the for the fire rescue and for the sheriff's department. There are two very important entities within the county, and we needed to keep parity with and keep the guys that have experience in. We needed to stop losing money training people for other people, and that's
But
what.
how do
we're
you
doing.
how do you handle that with the tax increase? Because that's why we
Well,
had to do the
there's
tax
other
increase.
areas. I was at the meeting. They didn't have to do the tax increase.
So you're
There were
saying
other things that they could have worked around on the budget.
shave it off the budget otherwise.
Shaved it off the budget.
Got it.
I make so much a week from work, and prices of everything have gone up.
Yep.
And we have to tighten ourselves to live. The county isn't doing that.
So where would you shave it?
Looking at the numbers, probably I would look at some of the more of the ancillary services. I don't want to point any one department right now, but there's areas I'm sure we can look at.
Gotcha.
One of the things I see all the time, and I don't know, I drive down Jensen Beach Boulevard at 9 o'clock at night. The soccer fields, baseball fields are empty, but all those lights are on.
Gotcha.
And that meter is spinning, clicking away.
Yes.
Just if we did a little bit better on shutting those lights off when we're done at the end of the night. I used to do it when I was with
Spoken like a true dad. Turn the light off.
That's
Turn the lights off.
you got it.
You are a dad for sure. Who was in here? Turn the lights off. What else?
So,
All right, we'll turn the lights off. What else? I'm kind of putting you on the
I
spot.
know you are
'cause it's
putting me on
big
the spot.
money,
It
man.
is
That's
big
a lot.
money.
That
It's-
public safety money is big money. So
It
I'm
is.
wondering, like, how do we, what do you cut? Where's the fat? Because it's, what was that? A couple million or something. You had to increase that millage to get to. How do you really?
Well, they were looking at bouncing, and I don't know if you were at the budget meetings. I was sitting
I
there.
watched some of them, but I wasn't there.
It's they were looking at some of the other projects that were going on in the county, things that could have been kicked down the road for a couple years to help offset
Yes.
and to work our way into the increases. One big thing that Doug Smith had mentioned at the meeting that we needed to raise taxes because the air conditioner at the courthouse was bad, needed to be replaced, and if it broke in the middle of the summer, what were we going to do? So they needed that extra couple million to make that happen.
That raise lit the boat on fire. So all of a sudden you're starting to toss. I mean, do you want us to do this capital improvement project? Are we cutting this? Are we cutting that? Like, what do you guys want us to do if we're raising, the salaries that much for public safety? What do you want us to do? What do you want us to cut? That was kind of that sense I got.
I would have held that project off. And if it broke in the middle of the summer, guess what? We have an emergency fund. You go to the emergency fund and you replace the air conditioner and then you repay the emergency fund, not at all at one time, but over a couple of year period where the impact isn't as hard on the taxpayers. Because everybody at home right now is paying higher electric bills, higher gas bills, just like the county's doing.
Yep. It seems like...
And on top of that, we had more taxable income coming in than we've ever had.
But from a, I don't know, expense standpoint, it seems like salaries, right? FRS, human beings that are on payroll
Always
for
the
your
biggest
government
expenditure.
are the biggest expenditure.
Always.
And for me personally, public safety is a non-negotiable, right? Like, you want to make sure the cops are there, the fire guys are there. You're dying. You need the guy there.
Yeah, you dial 911, you want to see
Right.
that big red truck pull up out there, absolutely.
But if the bureaucratic apparatus gets too big, those are all FRS people. Those are
Right.
that's all pensions. That's all money that goes out legacy too. So to me, I'm a smaller government kind of guy. If you shave off unnecessary services, right? You need water. You need the poop to leave your house and go to the plant,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
These are things we need. Do we need pick a non-essential thing, right? And then do we need the 10 or 12 people that are involved in that department?
Well, I think that's the,
Yeah.
the key. Is
and all their FRS
I look
benefits
at,
forever.
And I don't want to. I've got friends that work. In
I
the
know you
Parks
don't want to get in
Depart-
trouble, man.
and I've got friends that work in the Parks Department, and I look at sometimes the amount of quality, or not quality, but the quantity that is done in a time period, and the number of people and some things, and it's in the private sector, it wouldn't fly, and
Exactly.
and that's a big thing.
And that's why I was kind of putting you on the spot, because it seems like we need to thin out, run a thinner team.
I wouldn't
out the
advocate
home
laying
team a little
anybody
bit.
off, but
Of
I would,
course.
through attrition, look at maybe
That's-
reducing numbers down the line.
That's
Absolutely.
the city's doing a similar thing. Is maybe you don't necessarily rehire,
Right.
but it seems like governments always want to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's control. The more people that work for you, the more people you can tell what to do.
It turns into a fiefdom.
Mhm.
It gets interesting. Everybody's got personal expense cards where they're buying stuff on Amazon, and not anymore in the city. But yeah, you got to clean.
Yep.
You got to clean and lean.
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
all the attention doesn't go on police and fire.
Right.
That's really what happens.
They're your big ticket items. We all know that because they
Right.
hire a lot of people and they're big expensive equipment they're using in modernization.
Mhm.
And they're very much a necessity.
But I want those guys to be posting on Facebook, wrong exit. I want the idiots coming up from
Right.
Miami that are trying to break into my house to go,
Yeah, not in Martin
maybe we'll go up north or down south.
County. It used to be, and now I'm going to go back again to years ago, and the joke was you could run anywhere in the state of Florida, but don't run into Martin County because you won't come out.
Right.
And it used to be the motto, and it should be. That's
Even
the
as a kid,
reputation you
man,
want.
I knew that. Not that I did drugs, Jim, but I knew that if I was in the wrong car,
Right.
I could get in big trouble. So really be careful with whose car you're in, because it's Martin County, and it could ruin your whole life. It could be done. That is a healthy fear.
It's a fear I put in my kids.
That's a healthy fear.
It's,
Fortunately, half of our kids moved to Colorado, but but if it keeps crime out of Martin County, cool.
Right.
Because I want
Yeah.
people to feel safe here. I want to feel safe here. I want my family safe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice to know that, you don't come off the I-95 exits and not maybe somebody taking a look at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like you said, the wrong exit. I love those.
I
to
love
see
it,
on
man.
Facebook. It's
Even Doug Mustapick didn't win against Sarah, but I loved his campaign slogan, "Don't Miami my Martin."
yeah, that was great.
Just
yeah.
that says so much in that little slogan. So what's next for your campaign, man? Where's your crosshairs? Where's your energy
Crosshairs right
going?
now is fundraising, getting the word out and fundraising.
So how do people give you money so that they can slow the growth down? What do they
You
do?
can mail checks to my P.O. Box, P.O. Box 428, Jensen Beach, 34958.
You got a website or something that people
I
can
have
look
a
at?
website up. It's rudimentary at this time. I'm redesigning because
You seem like a tech kind of guy.
when I have time, I'm pretty techy. Okay.
Yeah.
But like so many, I have a full-time job in trying to do this, and that's really the downside of good politics. Is
It's true.
unless you have a trust fund or you're
Yes.
got deep pockets to start with, you can't
Independently
afford
wealthy.
to run.
That's
It's
true.
almost impossible to run. So it's hard, but if we can get out the word out and get $25-$50 from every person that believes that Martin County can change, we can make it work. But it's
So if they go to your website, they'll see that PO box.
they'll see the P.O. Box and they'll see the
You got some kind of donate now button or
it's
something?
donate
on there?
now right
Good.
on it, and it goes to it. And again, it's very rudimentary. It's a work in progress. It's
And I'm
hard
gonna-
to do that when I'm
Listen,
working
I'm
all
going to
day.
help you here, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to pull up just so people understand why this is important,
Okay.
right? If nothing against Doug, but I'm talking to Jim right now, okay? If you're tired of seeing Doug in that chair, all right, if you're ready for something different, how much money does it take to be able to get out the mailers, the signs, people don't think about this, right? They just think that you're going to get enough bubbles come August. But I want to, as somebody who now understands how this works,
Well, I've been looking at the numbers too.
yes,
So,
it takes money.
It takes a lot of money.
To win campaigns,
Right.
Right, and to get enough mailers out, like I said, to get the media. This is good. You're doing this, right? You're able to get your voice out and how you're different and why people should buy you, versus
Right.
Doug. But all those mailers that go to the people that snowbird, that all has to go up to New York and New Jersey. The people who vote by mail and vote early. You got to. People
Right.
have to know you even exist and that you're an alternative. How do you do that? It costs money. So let's talk about the money. You ready?
And I just pricing out mailers. A basic mailer to every
You ready for this?
tax. I'm sure you got the numbers. Go ahead.
Right. So first, let's do this. We're going to go back to when I ran 2 years ago, the last election cycle. So people understand this. If you want new blood, it costs money.
Lots of money.
All right. So just by way of example.
Right.
Okay. Stacey Hetherington versus TJ McGowan. Right. Stacey raised $108,000. All right. Sarah Hurd, the people's champ, versus Doug. She raised 33. He raised 61. All right. Who else we got? I mean, those were the big races. All the boys are up for this round. But just to give some context, right? Somewhere between. I don't think Sarah is a good representation.
I think if you look at the last,
'Cause she didn't even
4
put out a
years ago,
sign.
It would 4 years ago when Doug ran against Joe Neeson.
There you go.
I think it was 103 versus like 37,000, something in those numbers. Off
Yeah,
the top
there
of
you
my
go.
head.
So Doug ended up with 96,000.
Right.
She raised 9. But yeah, it does give you Harold and Ed went unopposed.
So if you don't have the deep pockets to spend your own money to get elected, it's almost impossible.
Well, here's the thing: is it's not necessarily their money. If you look at who donates,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
there's a lot of $500 and $1,000 checks from developers. That's who, and like out of town people from out of state, like PAC money. Like, where's this coming from? But that's, if you want a man of the people, if you want somebody different anyway, you gotta put some skin in the game, man. Because you know who is putting skin in the game? Developers.
Developers, absolutely.
Because this is their business. This is how they're going to feed their family and have their legacy. So they're going to spend that every election cycle. They're going to make sure that $1,000 checks, maybe from a few different accounts, makes its way to the guy who's got their back or gal who
Right.
has their back. So if you're local and you you keep feeling pissed off about each one of these things that gets approved, and you want somebody new. I know you're tight for cash, but when you have somebody who's willing to put their head on the chopping block, give these people some money, because it's going to take $40,000 to $100,000 to win.
Right, that's what I tell people all the time. It'd be beautiful if you get 100 people all each write you $1,000 check.
But nobody wants to spend $1,000 if it's not.
I'd rather get
be their business.
5,000 or 10,000 voters. Give me 25 each.
Yep.
You can afford the 25, and we get the numbers because those would count are the voters.
And I won't go down the list of their campaign finance reports to show you who donates to the to make up that 100,000. But just trust us that it's not a lot of $25 and $50 checks from mom and pops.
No, it's not.
So I won't beat that to death. But
it's grassroots versus the big pockets.
I think it's a conversation that's rarely had, and you can't really say it, right? Like, it's hard for you to sit there and please give me money.
I hate that.
Awful.
I hate that right there. That's the worst part of it.
If you want somebody new to win, man, you better. Throw some
I
cash
shake somebody's hand and said, "Oh, by the way, that's the worst part of the whole deal," and it's difficult. I mean, and somebody like me, it's difficult, especially when I'm working. I have the time to do that and do everything that needs to be done. But if we want to make changes and you want to get quality people in,
and it's not you asking for money for you. Right, like at the end of this, whatever, if there is a plus in that account, in that campaign account when you're done, that plus you donate to some charity.
Right.
It doesn't go into your personal account. This is purely to have a marketing budget to get signs out and mailers out and different things.
Yeah, you want culture shock? Go look up how much a flyer. 22 cents per at 100,000 voters
in the city.
Math,
we have a tenth of the number of people who vote in houses to send mailers out to, and I think it was like $2 or $3 grand just to send out one round of mailers.
24,000 and change for one round of Martin County.
It's 10x.
Yeah,
and that's why you have to raise so much money.
Yeah, people don't realize it. One 4x8 vinyl sign's $500.
And if you don't do it, nobody knows you exist.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, Jim, what? Who?
So it's like everything else in life. It's all about the money. Follow the money. It's all about the money. Mm-hmm. Follow the money on where my money is going to come from. Follow the money on where Doug Smith's money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want the person who's there for the people, or do you want the person who's getting the money from the developers to back the developers?
I think it's the hardest part of running. That first hurdle of like, okay, I'm going to now throw myself into the fire, right? That's hard. But then once you announce, it's like, oh man, you see that. And I almost wonder if it's strategic, for there to be $45,000 immediately, or $100,000 immediately, or whatever it is, if that's part of the strategy of making you feel defeated, right? For them to instantly raise $100,000, like what?
I purposely don't look at that, for I don't get that depressed look. But I have plenty of people that work with me that let me know what the numbers
just
are.
to put you in your place and shut you up,
right?
But
well, that's somebody asked me, "Are you ready for it?" And I said, "I got thick skin. I don't intimidate easily.
Yeah,
and I got thick skin, so it's I know what I'm getting into."
But that next hurdle is like being able to, survey the landscape and go, okay, I got to get out this many mailers. I got to do this, and that's going to cost that. And how do I raise that? Are you doing fundraisers or?
Process is setting some stuff up right now. We want to do some days in the park and things like that to get people out to see
because
us.
that's one of the benefits of being an incumbent.
Right.
Is, you're going from the working world into the political realm. You've got people that have been in the political realm for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or whatever.
20 plus.
They've had a lot of time to figure out who is, I say it like it's a marriage. Money and power are husband and wife.
Yeah.
Politically, right?
Yeah.
So if they have power, they're making friends with other people who have power and money and trying to figure out how to help them so they can be helped come election time. And the election thing is the fulfillment. It's the final expression of months of trafficking and working behind the scenes lunches and friendships established over years,
Right.
and now cashing in because you're their guy. And when you're coming into this world from that normal working
You're
world,
encouraging me so much, Chris.
because I want to put fire in your ass. It's either going to make you fold or go, okay, let's go.
Well, I'm not folding.
I know you're not.
I'm not walking away.
I didn't think I was talking to a lily.
No, I'm not going away.
So that setting up fundraisers, whoever your people are that are advocating for you, that have resources, having them throw parties for you. I remember I went to one for Brian Mast. I won't say where, but it was at somebody's house.
Right.
And they had all their friends there to help, and to even come, you had to donate like $250 as a baseline, and then
Right.
up from there. That kind of a thing. If they're gonna have your back, money talks, right?
Right. It's all
Welcome.
about the money. Welcome to the world of
Welcome
politics.
to the party.
Yeah, welcome to the party.
But all that so that you can be a voice for those people, and not for just the financial interests. Once you're in that seat, because there's going to be a lot of pressure from those guys, because the average person isn't there on a Tuesday.
Right.
They're working. But you know who's going to be there? 10 suits. Very nice suits,
Yeah, very expensive suits.
that are on the clock
Mm-hmm.
per hour, $200-$300 an hour. They're working for somebody, right? And so if you can't have that average person's interest in that conversation, it can almost get lost,
It's encouraging, Chris. Very encouraging. Thank you.
I'll give you the goods, man. Everybody else will fluff you. Oh, good job. So glad you're running.
Yeah. No, it's. I knew what I was getting to. This wasn't a whim. I had been asked
For a
8
long
years
time,
ago.
right? Yeah, that's what I had heard.
12 years ago, actually. And I said no. And I wasn't happy with the direction things were going, but I said no. And 8 years ago, I said no. 4 years ago, I said no. And I know Joe Neeson, so it was like, well, Joe's running. I'm not gonna put two of us split votes against Doug. The key was to get somebody in against that seat.
Yep.
And this time, I came out early, for everybody knew that I was going to run, and because I'd had enough, and I've had enough people coming to me and say, really, you need to step in if you're at all thinking about it. And it was like, yeah, the timing was right. Plus, Doug's been in office a long time. It's time for some new ideas.
How long has he been in there?
I haven't looked at the numbers, but I think his last election, he said he wanted to win that one before he could do his 20 years. And I think at the end of this term, it'll be 24 years.
Wow.
And if you think he's now thinking about the $25 donor, he's not. He's thinking about the $1,000 checks, because he's been in long enough. He's been in long enough now to make deals and know people and get things done in the shadows.
You get very efficient.
Get very efficient.
Yep. And when you can't figure out why something got approved, you're like, none of this makes sense. That's why. Not to say he's specifically corrupt or something, but when you can't figure out why people in power are making decisions that don't make sense, it's that kind of a thing.
20 years of going to lunch once a month with the same guy, you
Right.
kind of develop a relationship.
Yeah, they're buddies. And maybe Blake Fontenay writes a negative article, or a few people come to a meeting and complain. But all in all, you come out pretty unscathed. And when campaign time comes, you're going to get taken care of and you can pump out ads. That's the game.
Yeah. The flyers out right away.
Yeah.
Everybody else is scrambling to raise money, and there's
With enough money, you can hire some really talented marketing person, and they can make you look like an angel, no matter how you voted. That said, do you have a media person, Bruin? You got somebody that can help you cut up content?
I've had a couple people step forward, but so far I haven't found just the right match.
Facebook is...
By the way, if you're out there and you're interested in helping,
Yes.
I'll be more than glad to talk to you.
Facebook is a really nice, it has leveled the playing field to some extent. You think even 10 years ago, Facebook ads weren't really, you couldn't really get the message out as well. And there's something about social media that people are keenly aware of what's real and what's just an ad or
Right.
we're so used to content and we judge content so much that really easily you can dismiss what's garbage, what's not authentic. And so if you are authentic and you do have an honest product or service or platform campaign, you really should leverage Facebook. Obviously door to door, but like Facebook, small clips, 3 minutes to 5 minutes, where you can take one point and just communicate it authentically, and you can spend very little money. I mean, versus like flyers or mailers, where you're spending
Right.
$24,000, you can spend $100, $200, and reach all the people in Martin County in your demographic that will see. They'll see that in their feed, So even if you can find somebody to help you with this, take clips of what I post where you're talking about something today for 3 minutes,
Well, I've been watching your clips. You
do little
great.
clips like that, but constantly from now till August,
That's the game plan.
Stuff like
I've been
that.
wanting to do it, but work, like I told you before we started, it's
I had to take a
through the
lot of
season.
time off, man. It really
Well,
hurt.
now
hurt.
I can. The
It was
season,
painful.
I had to get through the season. Now
Yep.
that Easter's come and gone, the season for us at work is slowing down. I can start taking time and do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm. I had to take a lot of half days in here to go door to door. It's painful on your bottom line. You're trying to figure out how you're going to pay your mortgage, but it's kind of do or die,
Yeah. These bills are still there each month.
That's right.
It's to make it work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a dedication to the cause, and that's why I kept thinking about it for years. It was like, no, I'm not ready right now to make that sacrifice. But I am now. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. I was born and raised in this town. I just can't see what's happening anymore. And I'm not the type that's going to just stick my head in the sand and.
No. For me, it was kind of like I'm either going to die or win.
Yeah, I know that mentality.
I cannot do this and not win. So it was everything I possibly could do. I'm coming home. It's dark, covered in mosquito bites and sweat.
Well,
and my very patient and loving wife is like, "Hey, we got dinner over here. You okay?" Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I got in at 1 a.m. last night just and
Good,
turned
man.
around from work, and here I am for.
You're my
this
people,
was like-
so you get it.
Yeah.
How? I don't know, man. Do you want to talk about projects? What do you feel like people should know about you that distinguishes you?
I've been dedicated to the community. I think that's a big asset when you're looking at candidates. I mean, Doug Smith was relatively unknown when he came in and ran for office because he had the capability of doing a marketing campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised in Martin County. Like I said, I was a paramedic with Martin County. Then went over to Martin Memorial before consolidation to fire rescue. But I was a volunteer firefighter. Went to fire academy. Became a certified firefighter as well. Planning for consolidation, but I was made an offer to come over to Martin Memorial prior to consolidation, and I made that lateral step. I've been very active with Little League, 15 years as board director. I was part of the group that actually brought Babe Ruth to Jensen Beach, Babe Ruth softball, and because it wasn't getting it done for the kids, what the Little League product was out there. And it was, so we moved to Babe Ruth. And subsequently, since Babe Ruth came in, Jensen Beach started hosting their girls softball World Series. People say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is during late June and July and August, when the hotels are empty and the restaurants are empty, we're bringing in about $10 million in revenue for that World Series tournaments. And that's the type of products we need to be trying to bring into the county, is clean, wholesome, but yet bring in a revenue base for our businesses.
Well, if you beat Doug, you would be on the Tourism Development Council with me as well, so
Right.
you'd be able to do that.
So it's
What do you think are the main issues that people are upset about right now in terms of Martin County?
well, right.
The voters. What are the voters irritated about?
Growth.
Growth.
Growth, growth, growth. It's just, and that's why I hear that everywhere I go. It's out of control. It's just everywhere you turn, there's a yellow sign.
And so, what would you do different?
Well, like I
From
said,
the
it's going to
status
be.
quo.
We're going to slow it down. I'm not going to say no to everything. You can't say no to everything. Anybody who thinks it can say no growth doesn't understand. You got to expand your tax base because services are required, and you got to have the tax income. If you don't want to raise taxes, you need to expand the money coming in. So you have to have reasonable, controlled growth. Like I said, the developers were going to have to meet the requirements on how does this benefit the community as a whole, not just your pockets. And that's a big thing because you're going to see a lot of no's from me on the board when it comes to developments. Some will get by, some will come through because they meet the requirements or they're beneficial to the community. And hopefully we start getting developers to look at things a little different. Start looking at the heritage of where they're building, what the people in that area are used to and what they like, and design their development around that.
How did Newfield get approved? That Kiplinger project in Palm City.
I wish I knew had the answer to that, Chris.
And would you have approved it?
No. How's that for an answer?
There you go.
No.
See, now you're there. What is it, like 4,200 doors
Yeah.
on one street in on Citrus? It's going to go well.
I'm glad I don't drive out that way every day.
14,000 people.
Yeah.
It's good.
It expands the tax base, but it's going to see what the services are going to take. You know, how much of the impacts are going to be for widening roads? How much are...
Well, they're doing it now, so they're not going to do it again for a while.
Right.
The DOT plans that out. That's another board you'd sit on is the MPO, right? Like the DOT plans that out over 5 to 20 years, those kind of things. So if it's getting done now, it's done for a while.
So, yeah. Yeah, I know. You see, those are the things that are not addressed enough at the meetings and talked about. I just think it's more of a push. We're not going to talk about that additional traffic. Oh, we them to take care of that. It's no expense to the taxpayers. Wrong. When all those people move in there and eventually the roads are going to have to be widened again, that's a taxpayer-based project.
And the thought, like where do you think these people are going, right? They're not going north into Port St. Lucie on Citrus. They're going either to 95 or more likely they're coming into Stewart.
Right.
Right, they're going to come down.
They're going to come stay at that new hotel they're building in Stewart.
You're my people. You're my people. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have a nice 4-story hotel downtown.
Right. With no parking.
At the entrance to Colorado. It's going to be great.
See?
It'll be nice to have...
Well, they catch the train. They're going to come in and catch the train.
Sure.
Go to Orlando real quick.
Yeah.
Even though 95 and the Turnpike are right there, and they'd probably get to Orlando quicker. And when you add all the money and gas and all and rental car or whatever you're going to do up there, it's probably cheaper just to drive up there. But we got the train.
And the station.
And the station. Well, they made a stipulation in court that they would build a station on the Treasure Coast. Nowhere did it say that you won't pay for it, but...
The county's on the hook for $15 million. And then we'll see what comes in front of us, but I doubt Brightline wants to pay for much or any of it when it's all said and done.
No.
Right? But grants, I don't know. But grants.
Yeah,
grants. Oh, it's free money, gift cards.
It's taxpayer monies. They're
Right.
just, it's all taxpayer. It's when it's government and money, it comes from one source.
Yes.
The taxpayer, period.
Yeah.
Unless you're the federal government, then you just print it yourself.
Right. But that's not how it works for us.
No.
No. You're paying for it.
So, yeah, it's...
And if you're in the city, you're paying for it 3 times.
it's...
State, federal, whatever.
I laughed
city.
because I made a comment about once of the price for the station, the Martin County being on there. So it was like, well, I said Martin County taxpayers are on the hook for this. And they're like, well, the city is Stewart. And I'm like, you know what? Last time I looked.
They're in the county.
They're in the county.
Right.
They're county citizens. So overall, it's Martin County taxpayers.
Right.
It's the same pair of pants. It's just which pocket you put the money in. That's all.
It's true. So they pay twice.
Yeah. But I don't know. We need that high-speed rail. We need that train. Well, FEC needed the new rail lines.
There you go.
We'll just leave it at that.
They need new freight
They
lines.
need new freight lines. And saw this coming when the argument first started on Brightline. It's no rail service in the country has ever made money, survived without government intervention. They got all this federal money and grant money and bonds to upgrade their rails, and I don't know for sure, but my guess would be that they really don't care how much people they carry, the freight that the product they're looking to carry on those rail lines.
Yeah, the money's on the freight side.
It's on the freight side.
So you just kind of not bait and switch, but you got your two things, freight and passenger rail.
Right.
And you're like, money, we got pots of money for this. And yeah, it'll end up getting all this infrastructure set up.
Right.
Look here, though. Passenger rail, bright things, fun.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the governor, I have to give DeSantis credit, this week when he came out and said,
It's a bit of a monkey wrench if everybody's all aboard, right?
Right.
It's like, should we think about this again?
There's no money in that transportation for rail. He goes, we're not in the rail business. We're not going to put the taxpayers on the hook for trains. Well said.
Right. If you're a company and you think that's profitable, you do it. Why make taxpayers pay for that?
Yeah, well, let's look at the company. Does anybody? I mean, Casey Ingram did a great bit on who owns that. And I was unaware until I saw it from her and did some research that it's foreign owned.
Ron DeSantis is doing a press conference at Walgreens in Stewart.
I didn't see anything about that.
For immediate release, April 9th, 2024. Media advisory, Governor Ron DeSantis to hold a press conference in Stewart. Ron DeSantis will hold a press conference in Stewart on Tuesday, April 9th. What?
What's up?
Wonder if it's about Brightline. For discharges? I don't know. What
Maybe
else?
discharges.
What else is going on?
Yeah. But at Walgreens?
Yeah, man. Tuesday, April 9th at 10 a.m. Media arrival time, 9:30. What's happening? Jim, what is going on, man?
Which Walgreens?
5800 Southeast Federal Highway, Stewart.
Is that Indian Street or is that down at Cove?
What's going on, man? Freaking out.
Because when I leave here, I may be going down the road.
I know, we may need to shoot over there now. Yeah, it's a Cove. What's he doing? So what is he, live right now? 10 a.m.? See him just crashing our party here.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it could be interesting. It may be something to be worth us discussing here in a minute.
What's happening?
But I would think if he was doing something on the discharges, it would be closer to the water.
I know it's wrong, but
We'll see if we can get him live here. He just did the Brightline announcement though, so it seems like that would be why.
But why down at Cove? Why at the Walgreens of all places?
Yeah. What's going on? Oh, Governor DeSantis speaks on new retail theft law.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay. My wife used to work for Walgreens in one at Solero. They used to get a lot of run and grabs, dash and grabs, come in the door, grab stuff and run out.
Huh. All right, we'll see. It says it's not live yet, but it should be any minute. Huh. Ron, good to have you in Stewart, brother. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Just never know, right?
You'd think they'd announce it with a little more lead time, man. It's just like last minute. I just got a text.
It's not like he was on his way home from Lakeland and decided to swing through Stewart, and
Has there been an issue with retail theft there?
I don't know at that one. I know the one at Salerno in Canner, they've had a lot of dash and grabs out of there.
You'd think it's Stewart, right? That wouldn't happen that much, but
It's right by the interstate. Come out of that one in Salerno, and you're right there, the interstate.
huh? So maybe that's why he's over there. So I wonder what he's going to unveil. I didn't think that was really happening much in Florida. You see like Cali, and I guess it's really like California, where I
Right.
mostly see videos of people coming in with trash bags.
They just fill their arms with as much as they can and go out the door. Mainly cosmetics.
Isn't it wild how the retail stores have adapted now out there, where they'll have just plexiglass and locks
Right.
for sunscreen? Like, what's the world coming to, man? If that's the future,
Oh, that's a whole nother. We could
I know
do hours
the
on
moral
that one.
decay of society.
Yeah, we could do hours on that one, Chris. Yeah.
How old are you?
63.
All right, so when you were a kid, you might have stolen some bubble gum maybe or something, but
Yeah.
people weren't stealing.
I grew up in Jensen Beach and Stewart as a kid. My father was a contractor, and he
Yes.
knew everybody in town. My brother and I, it wasn't ever worried about getting in trouble somewhere. It was worried about that phone call home, because he would have been waiting for us. And to me, that's part of the problem with society is the parental units are gone,
You bet.
and the discipline's not in the house.
You're right. I was never afraid of police. I didn't want to get caught because I didn't want my parents to roast me.
Right.
Cops just represented not necessarily getting in legal trouble, but my parents are going to destroy me if I get the cops called.
I don't know if you ever seen the comedian Epton.
No.
He did one about the phone ringing, and his dad would always yell at him, "Go answer the phone." And somebody made a comment, "Why don't you tell your dad to answer it himself?" And he goes, "Right, I'm going to tell my World War II Marine dad to go answer the phone himself." You want to see how fast he gets up out of that chair. Well, my dad was a World War II Marine in South Pacific. I didn't want to come home after he got a phone call from somebody because I was out screwing off in town. It was just wouldn't go well. Let's just put it that way. It was a very bad day for me. Not that he was ever abusive or anything, but he was a disciplinarian. He was,
Maybe a healthy kind of abuse. Abuse is a strong word.
Yeah, no, he just.
But you knew.
You knew.
You were getting the leather strap to the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Without hesitation.
It's not abuse.
No.
I'm a Christian, so it's spare the rod, spoil the child. You don't
I believe that.
abuse your kids, but
No. It's
their kids need to
open
know.
hand on the butt cheek or strap, you're fine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in today's society, the kid
That's
picks the phone up and calls 911.
Right. I'll give you a funny story about me. I threatened to do that when I was 10 or 11 or 12. I don't know. And my mom was like, "Let me help you. This is the number for Child Protective Services. Here's the phone." But because it was always like, you could do this or you could do that. Here is the probable outcomes with this. Here's what'll be the probable outcomes with this decision. Pick, so it was like, you can do that, but you're probably going to end up in like a home with, people who aren't your parents and then some other strange kids, and they're not going to feed you like we feed you. You know how you eat here, and you eat good? You're probably not going to eat. You're probably going to eat more like this, and it's going to be different. You like those shoes, right? Those are nice shoes you have, those Penny Hardaways. You're not going to get Penny Hardaways. It's not going to be like that. You're not going to have sneakers like that, okay? You got to, and by the time she's done, it's like, okay. Okay. Go clean your room or whatever it was.
I think as a kid, each of us comes to that come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
Our parent brings us to it. And my son's 26 now. He was, a few years back we were talking. He looked at me, and goes, "I still don't remember how you did it."
Yeah.
And he went, I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Back when I was like 10 years old, Mom walked by my room, stuck her head in the door, and went clean my room, and she went down the hall, and I stuck my head out looking at her and went, 'Oh, shut up.'" And I turned
No.
around, and you were standing there.
Yeah.
He goes, "And next thing I know, I was looking down at you."
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, he goes, "You didn't hit me or anything, but boy, you sure brought me to my senses real quick." You know, it was like,
If you don't respect your parents, right? How do you respect police? How do you respect your boss? You know, how do you have any sense of authority and respect
right.
for anything, right? You're going to think you own the world, but then you're going to encounter the world. And there are laws, there is structure, there is authority. You do, and you're not going to be able to be employable. You may end up incarcerated. These are not good things. You know,
Well, yeah,
there is gravity in the world. There is natural law and, you know, civic law. And if you can't ever respect anything like that, you should have a healthy confidence that you can make the world better. But if you can't operate in the bounds of society either, you're going to be just an outlaw. Or
well, my sister was, I used to call her as a kid the bleeding heart liberal in the family because she was always, you know, look at this and that, you know, and it was.
you need kind of both. You need a balance.
She's had a fabulous career. She's an ESC teacher, and I give her all the credit in the world. She's got a great reputation for what she does. But recently we was joking around with her because her life was always work, home. Never really was out. Never had the opportunity to see the streets.
Right.
And
Good point.
she met some people, and I was watching what was going on, and I told her, and she goes, "No, they're not that way." And I'm like, "Trust me." Okay. And now she got it. I said, "You're naive to all this, but there's a whole different world out there that you don't realize." You know, as a medic, I said I saw it all the time.
Yep.
And it's the
reality
reality
world.
of what's out there, the alcohol, the drugs, and how people act, and they'll steal from you as soon as you turn your back from them because
Right.
they need to get that fix. You know, and it's the education of what's out there, and you don't realize it. People don't realize how the magnitude is in Martin County. And I do give credit to our sheriff's department for their approach and how
Right.
much they've been really working hard.
They
And
keep
Stewart PD.
a lot of that misery out of our bubble.
Right.
Yeah. Growing up, that's what my mom would say is you haven't experienced the kind of misery that can exist in life. Because, you know, make these choices, not those choices.
Right.
Keep that misery out of my county, out of my city with law and order.
And like you said before, it's all you have to do is make, 18, 20 years old, make one mistake.
One mistake.
Now you've got a felony on your record, and go try to get a good job somewhere.
Right.
It'll take years before that'll be far enough back is history that somebody will finally give you a break on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it only adds to more. Now you can't earn a living and income. So what do? Go steal again. It's a never-ending cycle.
That was a conversation I had with a family member that fancied themselves up-and-coming drug dealer. Listen, man. Listen. There's only a handful of jobs that you can pick that have police as their antagonist in the law.
Right.
Pick any job and be entrepreneurial at it within the scope of the law, and you won't have to worry. It's not a competitor. It's somebody whose job is to shut down your business and incarcerate you. Pick any other thing. Deploy that skill set at something that doesn't have that as the competition or, antagonist.
Yeah, and the antagonists have gotten really good at what they do anymore with technology.
Yeah.
It's...
Pick anything else. I know there's a really good market for it, but there's also this competitive antagonistic side that if you mess up, you don't get to do that job anymore, and any job.
Yeah, any job. Right. But you do get bologna sandwiches free for a while.
Yeah. True. Oh, here he is. Let's see if I can get him on here.
every sworn law enforcement officer in the entire state of Florida. We do $5,000 signing bonuses for new recruits into the state of Florida at both the county, municipal, and state level. People know that we have their back. And if you look, that is not the norm, unfortunately, in many jurisdictions across this country. You look at a place like California, they passed Proposition 47. That allows people that commit retail theft to be charged with misdemeanor, even if it had traditionally been a felony. That means they get numerous retail theft offenses. Did they get held accountable? No. They get a slap on the wrist. You look at New York, they eliminated cash bail for many offenses, including offenses for retail theft, so that now you can only get a felony theft charge if you steal more than $1,000 worth of merchandise. Anything less, you get a desk appearance ticket. That has caused people to loot stores and do $999 worth of looting,
I've never
and then
owned
they
a suit
leave
before,
knowing that they're
and I
not
just
going to be held
recently bought a suit.
accountable. Well, it's not
like you get
probably surprising that
certain
with
kind of
policies
car
like
and you
that,
start
you're
noticing
seeing
that car
retail
everywhere.
theft
I know,
surge
notice ties
in
and
different
stuff.
parts
Yeah.
of the United States.
I've
In
owned a few suits,
2022
but
alone,
my wardrobe
$112
consists mainly
billion
of flowered shirts.
That's good.
in retail
That's very
theft.
Jensen. You
States
will have
like
to throw
New
a tie
York,
on at
$4
some
billion
point, though.
alone in
Yeah.
2022.
But
New
it's
York
better
City
for your
has
brand,
seen
I would
shoplifting
imagine, to be
increase
the
by
flower shirt guy.
63%. Los Angeles up 81%, San Francisco up 24%. Now, that has an impact on you as a consumer because the prices will go up to reflect those stolen goods. That's just basic business. If they're not able to sell those goods, if those are losses, they got to find a way to compensate. So you end up seeing rising prices
strategically
when you
doing
go into
something
the
'cause he's been
store.
bouncing
It
all
also
around
just
the
has a
state,
demoralizing
making
effect
appearances.
on
What do you think he's
people
doing?
when you go in and you want to buy toothpaste, and it's like Fort Knox because it's all under lock and key for basic items. You got to
Senate
get a
run,
clerk
maybe?
to come and open it and all this stuff just to do basic shopping.
I wish he'd put
that is
Jackie
not
Lipish back
something
on the
that
South
is
Florida
good
Water
for
Management
quality of
District.
life.
Both,
And then,
yeah,
of course, if
absolutely.
you can have people come in and just steal,
I would never talk bad
retail,
about Ron
and
because
walk
he's the
out,
only
that creates
person
a
who can remove
contempt
me
for
from
the
my
rule
seat
of law
legally.
that has a spillover effect in
Besides
areas
voters.
far beyond retail theft.
But I do wish
so
he
in
would do that.
Florida, we've actually seen a decline in retail
No,
theft
I think
over
Jackie
the last 4 years,
did
and
a
we're
great
proud
job.
of that. I think it's because a lot of people know this is not the state you want to try that in.
And he's not a
but,
sugar baby.
We are
You know,
seeing
it was
issues
very
with
unusual
retail
when
theft
he beat
across the country.
Putnam.
Nationwide,
Putnam was a sugar
88% of
baby.
retailers have reported that shoplifters are more aggressive and violent now
That's funny because it's
compared
just out
to
in
just
sugar
a few
country
years ago.
the last 2 days,
49% so they have
doing some work
observed
in
much
Clewiston.
more violent and aggressive behavior. Why? Because I
Big
think these
sugar out
people
there
come
now.
in
Oh, yeah.
and they have a sense of entitlement that they can take what they want and that they're not going to be held accountable. And so I think the behavior has reflected that. You see stores closing down in different parts of the United States, whether that's Target closing 9 stores in Portland and Seattle, Walmart closing stores in
You wonder
Chicago,
how much of that, though, too, is
Nordstrom closing stores in San
the change in the
Francisco.
economy.
That is a
You know, like,
direct result of the lack
you
of
see Kroger
commitment to
trucks
the rule
doing
of law
drop-off.
and holding criminals accountable. So
There's
we're
a
not
lot
going to
of,
do
like,
that in the state of
either you
Florida.
pick up
We're
your
going to make sure
groceries or
that our retailers
Instacart
are
drops
able
them
to
off.
sell
Right.
products
My wife does
that
this a lot.
consumers
Like,
are able to benefit, and
increasingly,
that people are held
especially if you
accountable
have
when they break
kids
the
or
law.
you're
This
working,
theft is not
the
limited, though, to just
convenience since
retail
COVID of being able to pick up
outlets. You
groceries.
also
I do
have
that.
an
If I'm
an
really
era
busy,
where
I'll just do
people
an
are
online
clicking
order
and
and pick
ordering
up.
online
It seems like a
and
lot of
having
these are gonna just turn
packages
into
delivered
warehouses,
to their front
you know, these
door.
stores,
You
they're
have a
smart.
cottage
Kroger has
industry of
suspended its
porch
delivery
piracy,
up here
where
in the
people
trade.
Has
will
it?
go
I just
and
saw one today,
steal
though.
Yeah, they
packages from
just saw it on the
somebody's
paper the other
front
day. It was on
door.
the paper that they were suspending
And different
up
citizens
here.
have
I don't
responded
think
in
they're doing
different
enough up here
ways.
to make it
You have
cost-effective.
cameras, the doorbell cameras, you have all this other stuff, but it's not certainly effective in soft on crime jurisdictions, and it's not something you should have to
All right,
do
Ron, let's get to the point.
in the state of Florida, and
Here's
so we're
my
not
only
going to
issue
put up
with what he's
that
doing
either. So
is I
today's
love it,
bills,
and so does everybody
the bill I'm going to
else.
sign not only
And they're
cracks
gonna
down
wanna
on
move here.
retail theft, it also cracks down on porch piracy, so that if you
I need
order
him to be a
something,
little
It
bit
is,
like
you know,
negative
I
or
have
something.
family in the
or
Northeast,
come
and they
home
love
from
him.
work
They
or bring
talk
kids
about
over
him all the
school,
time. He goes,
package
man,
is
you
gonna
got a
be
governor
there,
down there.
and if
that's-
it's not, someone's going to have hell to pay for stealing it.
Somebody's gonna watch this
HB
in California. Go, I'm
549,
done. I'm done.
is a
I'm
great
moving.
piece of legislation.
I'm tired of not
It
being
is
able to go to
pretty much
Walgreens.
doing the opposite of what a lot of states like California and New York have done.
Yeah, California, New
It
York.
believes that we need to increase penalties on those who are committing these acts. So we will raise penalties
Wow.
on people that steal packages from your front porch. They are going to be deterred from doing that.
He's
with
going after the
adequate
Amazon
penalties.
Yeah,
thieves.
We're
right.
also increasing
Dang, Ron.
penalties for the so-called retail theft rings.
They're all gonna
So if
move
you
here.
Well,
have
if you try to take
5
one
or
off my
more
front porch, smile, 'cause you
people,
are on camera.
you're going to have enhanced penalties
Man, too,
as a
man.
result of
Like-
that, because this is a coordinated effort that
People
you
can
see in
shoot
some
you.
of these
Florida.
jurisdictions.
It's Florida.
We are also going to make it a second-degree felony if you use social media to solicit others to participate in retail theft, because what
Is
you
that a
have
thing?
these flash mobs that are incited
thing?
by social media to descend on some stores, and the thing is, the clerks are overwhelmed at that point.
I must be on the
It's
wrong
very
social
hard
media, 'cause I've
to
never seen
keep
it.
things
Must
in
be
order.
California or
And
something.
we are going to hold people accountable in a really big way if they're committing retail theft with a firearm, or if they've already had previous convictions for retail theft. You're looking at really, really serious penalties. So I think what we're doing has been successful compared to other jurisdictions. The fact that we've seen a decline, but we also know that we got to do all we can to be able to protect public safety. This bill,
And
cracking down on the
businesses, man.
porch
You don't want
pirates,
businesses
cracking down on retail theft
from a business
rings, making
standpoint.
sure people
You know, they
that
lose
use
thousands of
social
dollars
media
in
to incite
merchandise.
these flash mobs of
They make
retail
that up by
theft,
putting it
but
up,
all those
raising
people
prices
are
on
held
all of us.
accountable,
Yeah.
and they
Or
will
they're
be
just gonna
held
leave.
accountable
Right.
in the
They'll
state
go
of
somewhere else.
Florida. We don't want to see stores go out of business.
Right.
We don't want to see prices increase. And we certainly don't want to treat every retail establishment as if every item needs to be under a lock and key,
Right.
just so that they're not looted
Everything we just
without
talked
end.
about.
And
You're
that will
right,
not
man.
happen in the state of Florida. You will have toothpaste on the shelf that you can grab, check out, and leave. Imagine that. Isn't that great to be we're able to do that? So thanks for the legislature for being involved in this piece of legislation. We'll hear from some of the other folks we have, so we'll start with our Attorney General.
Moody.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. You know, it's not often that I have to encourage a politician to brag a little more about themselves, but please let me do that for this governor. We're here today to talk about an improvement on a retail theft law,
So
and
she's-
boy, is it going to do great things. But when this governor first got in office, within our first couple of years, we passed a monumental, almost first of its kind legislation to go after organized retail theft that really has been the model for many other states in this nation. It was one of the first of its kind. I think you'll hear a little bit more about that and how over the last few years we have been so successful in Florida. At least for our office, the Office of Attorney General and our statewide prosecutors, we've prosecuted hundreds with a near perfect conviction rate. And that
The fact
doesn't
that
even
she's
include
talking
the state
makes you
attorneys who are working
wonder what
very
she's
hard
up to,
across
like
the
what she's
state.
gonna run for
And so
governor
while
or-
he won't brag, I want to make sure that folks know that Florida has really set the blueprint for other states by which to measure their own success
That's what
and
it sounds like.
progress. And what that means is we are doing what Florida does best. We're being proactive.
So what, Ron for VP?
Just yesterday, sadly,
what's
I
going
watched
on
a
right now?
sheriff in California talk about
Maybe.
their governor
Yeah.
and the fact that he will not engage with those sheriffs and give them
Like,
the
why
laws
put her on a
that they
spotlight
need
right
to
now?
be better about cracking down on theft and other things such as illegal drug use and things that are plaguing the quality of life.
And have her
And he
sound like a
said
governor.
leaders, good
What's going
leaders,
on?
Where's the lieutenant governor? in
are
all this, you know?
proactive. They stay
Oh,
ahead
bet
of these
she's up.
problems and these
Nice.
challenges. So I'm so proud to brag on this governor who did that when he first took office and is doing that again today,
Yep.
along with our
That's
legislative
exactly what's
leaders,
going on.
by strengthening that law that we passed when we first got into office and adding to that porch piracy. 44% of Americans have had a package stolen from their porch.
Oh, boy.
Just last year, $8 billion was lost in stolen merchandise from porches. And we've seen the videos of flash mobs where they rush stores, distract the clerks, and they're able to just ransack
Ron's
stores.
trying to be VP.
That will not happen in Florida because we are proactive and we lead. And we're in some states like California where you have a governor who hasn't met with sheriffs in 5 years. This governor probably couldn't tell you how many times he has met with individual sheriffs and their associations to say, what are the tools you need so that we in Florida do not have to be run by criminal organizations? That will not happen here. This governor and Florida also understands that you give them the tools, you give them the laws, and then you make sure you back that up by supporting law enforcement and holding prosecutors accountable to enforce those laws.
True.
And we have demonstrated time and time again that we're willing to do that here in Florida. Just last week, we launched with the Florida Sheriff's Association and our chamber the 6 things that we see that other states have gotten it wrong. And one of those was decriminalizing crime, to include retail theft, to legalizing drugs. We're so proud of this state for showing how that will affect
Wonder
the
why
economic
green.
prosperity
Why
of
the green
cities and
blazer?
states. And how when people leave your state because they don't feel safe and secure, you will lose tax revenue. It doesn't take a
Law
genius to
enforcement
figure
green,
that
too.
out.
It's the
So where California
green
has
for the
lost
sheriff's department.
$340 million in tax revenue, New York has lost $300 million in tax revenue, Florida added $12 billion in tax revenue. And let me just go back to how I started.
Making Florida sound too good.
Florida
You're right.
I know.
leads. We don't react. We stay ahead of challenges and
We were
problems.
smart enough to
we
realize
work
we
with
were
our
in
great
paradise a
legislative
long time
leaders,
ago.
our
Yeah.
sheriffs
I
like
know, you don't
Sheriff
have to sell
Snyder,
it.
our great
It'll-
retail partners to get the
That'll
job
bring who
done.
needs to come.
So you may have heard of the term OG. We have the original OG,
Gangster?
the original governor,
Oh,
who knows how to lead and be proactive, and that is what a state needs in an executive leader. Heck, that is what our country needs in an
Heck.
executive leader. So
Our
Governor
country
DeSantis,
needs. You see,
thank you,
you
so
would
much
almost
for
think like
keeping
he's running
Florida,
for president
Florida,
again, but he's
and a
not.
safe and strong and
something's
secure.
up. VP.
BP maybe.
Yeah, and she'll be the governor. There he is. Come
Good
on.
morning. If I could just start off by saying, let me just talk to you as a cop.
Green.
Yep.
I know
that
we
makes
have
sense.
electeds, and electeds have to be electeds, but I want to just talk to you as a cop today. Purely and simply, a former street cop from Miami who understands what it takes to keep people safe. First of all, an illustration. These shelves are full. There's not an empty shelf in Martin County unless there's a hurricane coming and everybody runs out and gets toilet paper, which apparently in hurricanes you need more toilet paper. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm trying to. We have a little motto in our county. You all that are from here have seen it. I introduced our Attorney General Moody to that today, and that is hashtag
Wrong exit.
There you go. Man, how perfect. We were
Hashtag
talking
wrong
about all this
exit.
today.
we don't coddle criminals
That's why he's here.
And the reason
That's cool.
I don't have to coddle criminals
That's why Ron's here.
is in this room. First of all, a governor who gets it, a attorney general who gets it, our state senator Harrell, Representative Toby Oberdorf, and then
Toby's there.
John Snyder, right, the last name I should have remembered. It takes a
How
team
cool
to
is
do
that?
what we do. I have to have somebody at my back to make sure that I can do my job. And I'm going to close with this illustration, leave plenty of time for others. Because I said I would talk to you as a cop, Governor, I'll talk to you as one also. When we get new people, and you may have seen when you came in, the young gentlemen all look like bodybuilders in the tight black T-shirts there. They just got hired, and they're here. And from the very beginning of their career, my other son, David Snyder, is here today. He knows this as a law enforcement, former law enforcement. David, what's the one question when the new guy comes on the squad that everybody wants to ask? Can they hold their own? Can they fight? We also condense that into this question. The new person gets on the squad, Governor, and we'll say to somebody who knows him, is he okay? Or
Yeah.
is she okay? That's shorthand for, if I get into it, will they be with me? If I
Yeah.
go into a
It's
bar
so
at 2 o'clock in the morning to break up a fight, will they be with me? And if the answer is yes, I'm good to go. I know backups are coming. If I hear
Yep.
the unit with Governor DeSantis is heading my way, I'm good to go. And so I'm going to close with this today, as we've worked so hard in Martin County, and we've
Back
had
in
the
the day when I
backing
worked
of
EMS,
our
I worked
electeds here
the
today.
Indian
I
Health
want to
Station.
say
We
this.
loved working out there. And there was only 2
If
deputies
you ask
on
me the
our
question,
crew.
is Governor DeSantis,
And there would be many
is
nights where
Attorney
they'd
General
go to shut
Moody
down a
okay?
bar and they'd knock
I
on
would
our-
say
They wouldn't
unequivocally,
call us out, but they'd
without
knock on the
even
door and
any
say, hey, you want to
forethought,
follow us over?
yes.
It was
He's
just the
okay.
showing.
Yeah.
Deputies would go because they knew they didn't. Backup
Yeah.
was coming out of Stewart. And then the ambulance was sitting out front.
But the backup.
It was also the image that if you don't leave,
Hello and good morning.
you're going to be going with
My
them.
name is Carlos
You know, it's-
Gonzalez with Walgreens. And on behalf of Walgreens and the 763 stores, team members in this great state of Florida, we would like to thank Governor DeSantis and Attorney
I get the
General
idea.
Moody
You get the idea, right?
for being here today for this important bill signing and their
All right.
leadership. in the
Well,
fight.
that's pretty cool. It's also interesting. I wonder who set that all up.
Obviously, there's motivation behind it for something there, but
Yeah.
we'll find out soon
I
enough.
wonder if John Snyder wants to be governor too or something, or I wonder what's going on.
Well, Sheriff Schneider's retiring. That was an
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah.
He deserves it. He's done a great job.
Much loved.
Much. We've been fortunate. I've been in my
I hope
life.
it continues that attitude,
I grew up all through the Holt years, and then Crowder, and then him. And just a wee bit before that was Baker. I was real young when Baker was sheriff. But Martin County's been very fortunate.
Sorry. All right. Well, we're an hour and 20 in. Anything else you want to add? Why we should vote for Jim Yurillo versus Doug Smith? And
Well, first,
whoever the high school kid
who
is,
did
that'll be the
st-
writing candidate.
That's inevitable. We're waiting for that.
If you're a high school kid out there and somebody propositions you to become a candidate against Doug Smith or Jim Yurillo, don't do it. Don't do it. You're getting set up. What was that kid's name that did it
I
with
don't
Jackie
remember.
Chase
Yeah.
or something? Don't
Yeah.
do it, man. Anybody who knows what's up will see that kid's name when he applies for a job and give him absolute hell, I'm sure. Or a rental application. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You're getting
All
set
I
up.
can say is you get what you see with me. I'm a straight shooter. I don't blow smoke. If I win you over and you want my vote, or you like me, you vote for me. But more importantly, if you want to see us with a successful campaign, we need donations. We need help. Like we said, flyers are absolutely expensive to send out.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to get something out as an introduction, and then right about the time the ballots come out again, make sure I have it's at least 2 rounds of flyers, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Signage.
50 grand. That's 50 grand
That's
right
50
there.
grand right there.
So, just to remind everybody, it takes. I don't think Sarah Hurd's campaign is a good comparison. I don't think you can really reference her as what it takes because she raised 34. I think it takes 50 to 100.
It's also a
60 to
candidate could write all the money of his own he wants to spend. So,
Yes.
and they don't have to declare it on what they're showing there.
You do.
But you know what I mean? For the earnings, as like earning for the campaign, she's
Right. But when I say that, I mean she has such an established reputation, especially in a campaign that's going to be focused on growth.
right.
For being slow growth, that like she didn't even put out a single sign. If you noticed against Doug,
Right.
That's something he had said is like, I don't even know. It's like a ghost. I don't have any competitive drive here because I'm running against a phantom. They're not even.
Name recognition.
But then who Sarah Hurd is and how she votes and
Just like everybody knows who Doug Smith is. He's been in for so long.
right. So you need 60 to 100 to win.
Right.
So you're going to be setting up somebody's going to be setting up some campaign fundraisers for you.
Absolutely.
And people can go to your website and hit donate now or send you a check to that
Right.
P.O. box on that website.
Mm-hmm.
What's your website?
ElectJimUrillo.com.
Let me pull that up so people can at least see it.
Again, it's very rudimentary. It's a basic site just to get us up and going.
Yep. That's all you need.
And a countdown clock to primary day.
Yeah, you got it. You put it on. You put Casey Ingram on there.
Yep.
You got your issues. Except show me your face more. You
Yeah,
got your face?
I'm not happy with any of the photos. I've got to get some photo shoots
Yeah.
done.
There's got to be somebody who can take some photos of you.
I've never been happy with my mug in the mirror, so it's,
You got a good mug. Don't let anybody make you feel bad about your mug. You're a man of the people. Good. You got a little donate thing. That's perfect. Good. Where's your P.O. box?
should be down on the
Yep. So if you're more of a snail mail, send it there. Cool. All right. That's good enough. All right. Well, you're going door to door. You're fighting a good fight. I'll have another round of interviews as we get a little closer. So like June, July.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. So I'll have you back on again. You can give everybody an update about how successful you're doing and get that last push for another round of flyers. And I don't know. Other than that,
We're working it. I
You're
appreciate you taking the time and allowing me to come in and
yeah,
sit with you for a little bit.
people need to see your face, see your name. You know, there's a lot of when those bubbles get filled in, just the name recognition. They may not even. Unfortunately, everybody's so busy.
If you think fireworks in Martin County, that's our family did the fireworks for years.
Okay.
Until 2016.
So you need fireworks shirts.
Well, my logo, has a firework.
There you go.
Fireworks
The
incorporated.
fireworks guy.
Yeah, that was our family business. For 30 years, we did all the local shows. Huizenga, Toyota Stewart, City of Port St. Lucie.
See, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yes.
Also, you're going to reach out to and sit down with the fire union reps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, that's on my list of things to do. That I have a day off from work to sit down in my office and start checking off some of my to-dos.
I don't know. I'd say lunch every other week until the election. You need to really, they need to have confidence in you, and maybe they'll be a little less in Doug's camp. I don't know.
You know,
if I was running, I would be spending quality time trying to get a sense of what is important to them. And
no, I agree with you. And and it's
because even talking to you
any of them-
today, there was nothing that you said that was antagonistic to their objectives. So.
And I lost my train of thought here.
I do that. I interrupt.
I don't think there would have been anything that I've seen fire rescue put forward at the board that I would have voted against.
Right.
It's like you. We champion our first responders, and we need to, because when we dial 911, we want them at the door.
So let me just summarize this, right? If you're a fire rescue, paramedic, cop, you got two options, right? Between Doug and Jim. With Jim, not only do you get somebody who's an advocate for, your raises and taking care of you and finding a way to, skim fat off the budget in other ways, but you also get somebody who's going to preserve your community and the quality of life for you. It doesn't have to come with overdevelopment to come up with that ad valorem tax. It doesn't have to come with traffic that's out the wazoo, so you can't even get over to Stewart from Palm City. So if you had to summarize the two options, it's somebody who still has your back, but also in a more macro way will protect your town. And I've said this to other people, you got to be careful with people who say yes too easy, because they say yes to everybody. Right? They may say yes to you for your raise, but they're also saying yes to this developer and that developer and yes. Right? If you can't come up with somebody that's got some no's also, or maybe they're a little harder to negotiate with, maybe you get 11% instead of 12, but they said, no to 4,200 units in Newfield, right?
Right.
Because that's going to be real fun if you're fire or police. There's stuff that people aren't even considering, or when everything's 4-story and you got to crawl through those. I could imagine being a paramedic or, and you're crawling through that, trying to, you got a shooter in there. You want single family homes. You want stuff that's not dangerous too. So just a campaign for you for a second.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But just, I have friends that are still in the business, and I'm like, I've lived the lifestyle. I've gone to work 8 o'clock in the morning, 24 hours shift on, and then held over for overtime. And I know what it's like. I know what the station like is, and I know the bond you build with your brothers at the station. So, it's a different world, a different lifestyle. And when you have somebody in office that has lived it and understands it, they're more of an advocate for you.
Mm-hmm. True. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Again, Chris, thank you so much.
Sir. See you in a couple months.
You got it.